The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Well, wrong mics up, but it's Thursday, the first day of December, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindos. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Senja Dorman. Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sister Senja, how are you?
Good morning. It's the 1st of December. That means it's Christmas. It looks like you're in the Christmas spirit. I see the red shirt.
Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very careful about wearing red in these parts, right? Because you all, 2 days of the year, you all shout loud, get disrespectful, and extend it to a month. And then you all try to say, oh, yeah, Somerset this, Somerset that. Folks.
We give you permission this month. We won't talk about Somerset. We'll keep it about Christmas. We give you permission. We may take a few pictures and use them.
Yeah. Grow up, you Somerset people. It's the holiday spirit up in here. Got my red one. But at least you all admit, when I tease you during the summertime, you admit you wear Christmas colors in the summer.
It's fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Red is an attention-grabbing color.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, ladies in red season, it is, folks. It is. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today. We're welcoming Educator Ellen Kate Horton to the show. We're discussing the West End situation. So if you've been if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that the government has been trying to make some moves to pretty much rid history in the West End, I'll put it. I think the West End situation highlights maybe there's so many things to highlight, but I think this is an actual highlight example of how out of touch the current government may be to its own history and roots. So this conversation I'm really looking forward to with Ms. Horton. The Daily Play, more holiday trivia today. I think, Sancha, did you got it right Tuesday?
I got the last one, yes.
And
I got it right.
Shara's been like butter because she's been rolling. So, I mean, you all have been doing it. I don't know. I think you're cheating.
What?
You don't think you're doing something?
It's all about the holidays and red.
Okay. All right, all about the holidays. Well, hey, folks, it is the first day of December. You know what? I forgot to mention this. November 30th, yesterday, marked 4 years that I have been in the state of Florida. That's a quick 4 years. Yeah, quick 4 years since I've been in the Sunshine State. But I still don't have one of those things, to be a Floridian, you have to be able to how people say, Google Florida man, right? And something crazy comes up. Well, I still am not one of those people. You can't Google Florida man and I'll pop up because I haven't, really done anything to make me a Floridian.
Let's keep you out of that.
Yeah. I don't think I'm that kind of person, if you get what I'm saying. We have Sean DeShield says, your shirt looks very nice. Sir, I have the same shirt, J&M. Well, I mean, he is a stylish, very good brother. I'm sure we have similar taste. Yes, thank you, good brother. Well, we have a big conversation I have before we bring Ms. Horton on. And I think this is something, we put the question up on our Twitter. Let me see if I can go to the Daily Hour Twitter. Give me 2 seconds, folks. So I can go on our Twitter. And actually, it was on Bermuda Communications Group's LinkedIn yesterday as well. So how do I go to, let's see, Daily Hour Twitter. And you can head over there if you know how to use Twitter. I know, Sandra, we know.
Yes.
So on our Twitter, we asked, would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week in Bermuda? So let's answer that question first, folks. What do you think? Would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week in Bermuda? Now, on Twitter, there were 77% who were saying yes, 1.6% saying no, and 21.9, so 22% saying depends, right? And I like that depends, because depends could mean, that we need more information. Is it the same pay? That's the first question that I would ask. If this was just a broad question, would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week in Bermuda? Now, also, entrepreneurs may have a different perspective as well, right? Because this is a challenge for customer-facing jobs, right, Sancha?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to Instagram. Let's go to our Instagram and see what the folks are saying on Instagram. So on Instagram, we also had it. And the question is also, would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week? And let's see, we have, well, why can't they give percentages? It looks like 75% are in favor and 25% say no. So let's get through that question before we get into the actual question. Would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week? What would you support it, Sancha? And you've got multiple hats to wear in that, answering that.
I guess it depends on which avenue we're looking at, and I guess it depends what industry we're in as well, right? So as far as I look at nail bar, and I'm not quite. I will support it if I have enough staff, and I feel like I will staff up in order to make sure that all of those hours are covered. But then, what does that look like from a salary perspective? If we're doing a 32-hour work week, I feel like if we're in an office room, we can say, okay, we're going to do one day where we work from home, where it's like kind of flexi time, right? So I don't know. I guess it really depends on what industry you're in, because if we're doing a 32-hour work week, are we expecting to make the same amount of money?
Well, that's interesting, because the studies that were done, the global pilots, is it was for the same salaries. It was, and according to these reports, productivity went up, revenue increased, I think 38% overall. But something interesting that was said on LinkedIn by head of school at Whitley Village School. He says, Russell David, I like the idea. However, can it be operationalized in all fields of employment, which I think you were just mentioning, Sancha. My response is, I think it may have challenges in customer-facing jobs that are already facing issues finding staff, right? That to me is where I think we'll run into problems. But in terms of whether, honestly, as an employer, as an entrepreneur, I believe I can find ways to make it work. But what does that look like for my customer? I guess I think that's the bigger thing. What does it look like for the customer? Let's go to the audience. Yes or no? Would you support a 4-day, 32-hour work week in Bermuda? Traveling Trotty says yes, I would support it. Sean D. Shields says most certainly, as this is becoming the norm in corporate BDA in Bermuda. Really?
Yeah, I think that's the key. Corporate BDA. It's a lot easier. And I think that if you know you have a 32-hour work week, you're making sure, like, you have targets, you have goals. Like, this is my goal for the week. Let's knock it out. So all that time you spend around the coffee machine and the water machine and the conversations, those are lessened, right?
But this is already happening in Bermuda, really? You said corporate Bermuda. I'd like to hear from some people in Bermuda who actually, know of this or are benefiting. Karen Simmons says, yes, I would support it. Hedley and Stevenson Swan, well, you're definitely speaking for yourself. She says, most definitely pay cut and all. I'm not sure everybody wants to take that pay cut, Hedley, but Hedley and Stevenson Swan.
Stop.
Just saying, hey, got it. I'm good. But again, to some people, and I think what Lean saying in what she's written there is, look, I prefer more time with my family
The
and enjoying them than the money that's there. So to some people, they would take a pay cut if it meant more.
I think, you know, after COVID, we all look at like it's the value of life, right?
Yeah.
The type of life that we're living. And if
Hmm.
that means us not being paid for that one day,
Hmm.
to some people, it's probably worth it. It's peace of
Hmm.
mind.
Absolutely. Mysteries of Life says, yes, most definitely true work and life balance. And Charles H. Jeffers II says, I can't see that working for jobs that receive a large portion of their pay from gratuities. Sean Smith says, would people use it to find a second job? No, that's interesting because that extra day gives you more time to work and people are already struggling. Well, let's get to the question of the morning now. So the question of the morning is, how do you believe a 4-day 32-hour work week would benefit Bermuda and Bermudians? How do you think a 4-day work week and 32-hour work week would benefit Bermuda and Bermudians? Think about that, folks. Think about that, because I actually think there are some benefits to it. Because let's look at it like this here. I'm going to use nail bars and Sanchez in the room. So I don't know how I'm speaking outside. So Sancho's going to correct me as I say this.
Okay.
So let's say Nail Bar has 3 specialists that they rotate, right? And now the law, because we're talking legislatively at this point. I should have said that. We're talking legislatively if the government was to institute this, what this looks like. And the government says, well, legally, or the unions, well, the unions don't really fight for anything anymore. But anyway, well, things like this. But yeah, clip that, please do. So the unions and the government say, look, things have changed. We need a 4-day, 32-hour work week, right? And now that puts a small business like Sancha in a pickle where, well, I need to find additional staff, because if they're only working 4 days a week and then we have more, now think about it. The demand for your business might grow, right? Think about the other side, because people have more time to now go get their nails done. So now there's more demand. Now you have to find someone else to cover, at least one person to cover shifts, or 2 because people take vacations, right? What does that look like? What does that look like overall? So question is, how do you believe, in one case, is people spending more money, they have more time to spend into the economy. In another breath, a small business now has to go and find staff so that they can actually stay open to generate that revenue. But if they do find that staff, then productivity and revenue does go up, right? How do you believe a 4-day work week and a 32-hour work week would benefit Bermuda and Bermudians? That's your question.
If only it was that easy, Jamal.
Right, right, right. No, seriously.
Only it was that easy. Yeah, I mean, it's in my industry, it's difficult to find people on a good day. It is so difficult to find really good beauty therapists and nail techs, and I mean, we searched for years, so this happens.
And I want people to consider that, because so many times we don't consider the small businesses when we think of this stuff, and whether or not it should be a broad law that oversees everyone, regardless of industry. So how do you think it'll benefit Bermuda and Bermudians, folks? What are your thoughts? Sheikah Rayna, for you, Sandra.
Sheikah Rayna says, even with a 4-day schedule, some find it hard to not still need to work 40 hours in those 4 days. And that's true. I remember at one point I was like bringing work home, working to 2 in the morning, and then, because it just had deadlines to meet. And if your workload is that of a 40-hour work week, that's your workload. But maybe it's given the choice, right? So do you have a choice of a 32-hour work week?
Yeah. Renee Simmons says, yes, in corporate, they are more concerned with a better work-life balance. A number of companies have gone hybrid, work 3 days in office and 2 days at home or alternative. Yeah, I have a hybrid schedule. I mean, I do 3 days in, 2 days off, and at my leisure. Shikarina says hybrid is annoying. The in and out of office is like camping. I'll say the only downside for me with hybrid is that because it's on each employee, you don't get to know your colleagues a lot, especially if you're new. You don't get to engage with them as much. But I actually appreciate it. Well, I'm on the road, so the freedom to me, it all comes down to one thing, folks. One thing and one thing only: productivity. I've always said this from a child that it always bothered me when a politician would say, "Oh, I'm busy. I'm working through midnight." I don't care how busy you are. Busy doesn't mean good. Busy doesn't mean productive. Busy just means you're probably too stupid to get things done in the time that you've been given to do it. Seriously, like people act like being busy is something to celebrate. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Organized people are never busy. They're productive. I don't think Sancha's busy. I think Sancha's a very productive mother. I think Sancha has plenty. She knows, like, nope, structure. I'm going to do this with Maddox here. I'm doing that. That's not busy to me. That's a structured person who's using their time to be productive. So I think we need to understand the difference between being busy and productive. I think if I can get the work that I do in 40 hours done in 30 or 32, then that's what I think this is about. It's about productivity. And that's why in some of the articles, and if you guys don't mind, I just want to go to CNN because they were the first to report it, I think. I don't really know how to work on this iPad thing, so I'm trying to use it this morning, folks. So it says on CNN, the verdict is in: a 4-day work week is good for business. After 6 months, most of the 33 companies and 903 workers trialing the schedule with no reduction in pay, no reduction in pay, are unlikely ever to go back to a standard working week, according to the organizers of the global pilot program. None of the 27 participating companies who responded to a survey by 4-day Workweek Global said they were leaning towards planning or returning to their former 5-day routine. About 97% of the 495 employees who responded said they wanted to continue with a 4-day workweek. The majority of companies taking part in the trial were based in the United States and Ireland. Those responding to the survey rated their overall experience a 9 out of 10 based on productivity and performance. Workers were equally positive about the trial, reporting lower levels of stress, fatigue, insomnia, and burnout, and improvements in physical and mental health. The trial was also good for company earnings. Check it. Average revenue rose 38% when compared to the same period last year, according to survey. Well, I don't know about that, because comparing year over year is not always accurate, especially knowing last year and the year before, what were we dealing with?
Mm-hmm.
Now, pre-pandemic, I get that. So anyway, according to the CNN report, it was a win-win for the employer and the employee. But my question is what I think Sancha's thinking. What were these industries?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, I saw your face. I saw your face.
What industry is this? You know, it's probably a lot easier across other industries when we're talking about, like Charles said, mission-based roles. Like, how does that work? How do we now, if you're being paid by commission, which in my industry, that's what we do. We do base and commission. Then how does that work?
Yeah, I think many of us would like to know. So we have a lot of questions. Folks, what are your thoughts? How do you believe a 4-day / 32-hour work week would benefit Bermuda and Bermudians? Let's go back to the audience. Carla J. and Sean Smith, Sancha.
Carla J says it would be great for people who can physically work 32 hours to get access to full-time benefits if applicable.
Well, that's this study says that they didn't lose anything. The only thing that changed was their time. Yeah, they still got everything. Yeah.
Sean Smith says, I stand to be corrected, but believe the fire and part of the police service currently work like this. Any police or fire service member in the audience who can answer this question?
That would be interesting. I think that's shift work, if I'm not mistaken. I think
I think that if they're on at nights, I think they have like a few days off in between to kind of adjust, and then I think that's how it works.
But I think shift works very different from like if you're regular, say Monday through Thursday. Like I think that it's very different. Mysteries of Life says my teams love hybrid, and it was based on individual employee workload. Question before we bring Maya in real quickly, audience, is we find a lot of things to fight over and for. I don't know, and I say this respectfully, I don't know what Bermuda's unions have, and I'm not picking on them, what they fought for lately that has been so life-changing. I don't know. Like, unions have done a lot for people. They have done a lot for people. Like, we get vacation, paid vacation, sick days. That's a lot to do with unions. But I would love to know, because these are the conversations they would be in front of normally, right? And back in the day, they would be the ones leading conversations like this. I would love to know the union stance on something like this. We just don't have unions that are at the forefront anymore because they're so politically connected with governments nowadays, right? I mean, never mind. Mistress of Life says employers can start by asking their staff what their preference would be. I mean, that would be if you trust your staff, but I take your point taken. It's necessary to include staff. I mean, I try to include Sancha and these a lot, but they don't ever respond to me, folks. They be like, oh, I ain't coming dinner with you. I'm putting it out there. Ain't me, folks. Ain't me. But hey,
this list.
Yeah, I'm like that. Let's bring Maya in before we get in trouble. We've got a very good conversation coming up with Ms. Ellen Kate Horton as well. You've seen the conversations taking place about West End Primary. This is a very personal, deep situation, not just for people. And I want to get people to understand. I've been very honest about my opinion on this situation with the school. I have no deep connection to any school in Bermuda. I didn't like school. I had prospect hearing it can go tomorrow. Northlands became a primary school, and Cedar Bridge, I spent 1 year there. So I have no deep connection. But just because I have no deep connection to the institutions I attended doesn't mean I can't understand this fight and actually support it once I understand what they're fighting for. So sometimes it's about removing your personal feelings to really truly understand other people's causes.
Let me say this quickly, Jamal. I went to West End. Not my entire time, but my last 3 years of primary school. I didn't have a great time there, and I didn't like it. Not 1 second of it. But I understand the history of, Somerset, the legacy of West End School, and I understand how important it is. So
okay, Sandra spent 3 years there, folks.
3 years and hated every day.
She's a West End folk. Let's bring Maya in. What primary school did Maya go? You know?
She's told us this before.
She has?
I know she went to Whitney. That's middle school.
Elliot, Harrington Son, one then?
Maybe it was Harrington Son.
I'm going to say Elliot or Harrington Son. All right, let's bring Maya in. We will ask her.
Good morning. This is the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy.
All right, lady in red, how you doing?
Well, trying to be festive.
Yeah, you got that festive stuff going on. So you got to tell us. I mean, we were, trying to guess what school you went to. Was it one of the two that I mentioned?
It was one of the two.
One of the two we mentioned. Okay. Was it the one Sancha was stuck on, or the other one? Sancha was stuck on Harrington Son.
Harrington Son Primary School, the best school on the island.
Okay.
I loved Harrington Son, bro.
Is Harrington Son about to be part of the casualties that?
No, we're staying.
Oh, we're staying. Okay.
I think it's the only school in that one in Smiths, I believe. That's why I believe it's.
Oh, right.
There's nothing
Makes
really
sense.
compete against it, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got that right. That's it. I mean, I don't know the history of Harrington Son. I just know Prospect is brought to be a casualty. So yeah. But anyway, Maya, real quickly, 4-day work week, 32-hour work week. What are your thoughts? Do you have any opinions on that?
I technically do that right now, and I love it. So that's my opinion on it. I'm grateful that I've been what I know is for quite a long time, so I have flexibility there. But I still I guess my 5th day would technically be working from home, doing all the social media stuff. But I like it. I do feel a shift in that. I think I've been doing it for a year now, and it's definitely a time for me to relax and obviously do all my other work. So I agree with it. If it can be done, it's not always like feasible and doesn't make sense for everybody. But yeah, I do enjoy it.
Okay, cool. We'll have a vote at the end of the show, folks. That's what we'll do. We'll have a vote. By the way, I was told we have to do a giveaway, a couple of giveaways. I forgot, so you ain't getting nothing today, folks. So I'll have to talk to my bosses to see when we're giving it, because I don't even remember what we're giving away for the whole survey thing. So we'll get back to you on that once I get instruction. You know, I always take someone on the bus with me. Look, Maya, what you got in the news for us?
On the news for you guys today, yesterday I was up in St. David's because there was a concerned citizens group, a collective of bipartisans that I mentioned before that I was going to be up there, as they are talking about the new medical waste facility in St. David's and the storage of biohazardous waste. Well, yesterday they stated at the press conference that they are concerned that the collection, storage, and disposal of bio waste was outsourced to a private contractor without any proper regulation in place or oversight from the government. They are concerned that although an environmental impact assessment is required under the Bermuda Plan for Waste Disposal Systems, the major industry and commercial developments, no impact assessment was ever done. This means that the cumulative impact of airborne toxins from various pollutants in the area is unknown. As a result, businesses and children playing in sports and people who frequently use the area to exercise may be exposed to dangerous toxins and pollutants, potentially causing risk to their health without knowing the actual detriments of what it can be. So here's a quick video of the press statement yesterday.
That the business model proposed by MediWaste is inefficient. We believe it will significantly increase the cost for medical, dental, and vet practices, which in turn will pass the cost back onto the consumer with higher charges and higher insurance premiums. And we are angry that it has been left to our community to point out these issues and the gaps in the legislation governing toxic waste after members of the public discovered illegally parked containers of unrefrigerated bio-waste on a public road. But thanks to our efforts, we have successfully lobbied for its removal to a safer location. We are also angry that the responses to our concerns have not been forthcoming. We have sent questions to the Minister of Health and the Minister of Home Affairs since last Tuesday, November 22nd, which have not yet been answered. We have invited the Minister of Home Affairs, the Minister of Health, and representatives from the BLDC, the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, to meet with the members of the public at recent town halls, but none so far have been accepted. As a result of this complete failure to listen to the concerns of the community, the Concerned Citizen Group demands that the government steps in to immediately stop the construction of the incinerator so that an independent third-party environmental impact assessment can take place. We demand that the Premier, David Burke, intercede and insist that both ministers and the CEO of the BLDC meet with and address the concerns of the community. We request that another site be considered for the MediWaste incinerator, such as Tynes Bay Waste Incinerator Site or the King Edward Memorial Hospital. And we will be presenting our petition to the Premier on Friday at 12:30 p.m. at the House of Assembly at Vernita's Place on Court Street.
Just for Minister Farbert, have you spoken to the other ministers that they had mentioned in the in the press statement, and what were their responses? Because obviously if they didn't show up to the town hall meetings and also not here now, what is their general consensus? Can you speak to that?
I cannot speak to that. I have spoken to them, and I'm hoping that they will come to the table to attend the town hall meetings. If not, at least have a meeting with concerned citizens so that they can have their answers addressed.
There are two sitting government MPs standing with this group. May I ask, are you supporting the group's call for the construction to be stopped and for an independent third-party impact assessment to be made? Are you supporting that call here and now?
I am supportive of that call.
So you all know Minister Tanae Furbert is one of the few people I've shown nothing but love and respect on this show. And I will email her this. I have no problem saying this directly to her. one of the things I was always told about politics is that you can't serve two masters. And first off, thank you for asking that question, Maya, because I'm sure everyone was thinking it. It's either the premier and his government cabinet or the people. And I think it's impossible to stand there with the people and also stand with the cabinet and government. Am I being ridiculous here? Like, seriously, your audience, like, am I being, it really doesn't look cool. So my challenge to Minister Tanae Furbett is, I love to see it. I love to see you standing with the people, but I would love to be a fly in the wall to see what's being said. I mean, Maya's question was legit. Like, hey, why can't you share what's being said with these people if you're representing them? What is being said? I don't know. I don't want to take it over, but that's it's odd.
I will say she did say she's representing her constituency. She wasn't representing anyone from government, but herself. She obviously had been speaking with the honor ministers, and she said what she said about the situation. But I will say this, and this is an opinion of mine, that I feel most people who do become ministers were activists first. So it was, I want to say, encouraging to see that she was there. Yeah.
Well, I think in the past, most people who were activists, some became politicians. I don't think I see that activism in a lot of PLP MPs of today. That's I think the PLP MPs we see today, those are not the activists that once became PLP MPs and ministers. The PLP today are people who became MPs because they couldn't find jobs elsewhere. I'm not saying this is about any particular one. I definitely don't feel that way about Minister Tanae Furbett or Levita Fogo, because I know they had careers. But I'm just saying that that's been the biggest change in the PLP. I love to see Minister Furbett amongst the people, but personally speaking, I'm so much for the people. My resignation would be ready to be handed in if I believe in the people and their cause that much. But that's just me. Go ahead, Maya. What else you got for us?
Oh, in other news, the Adult Education School announced the appointment of 2 new individuals who will lead the school as it reimagines the future. Arlene Book is the new managing director and will have responsibility for the operation of the school, and Teo Deal is the new director of programs and will shape the lead of the Adult Education School program to ensure they meet the evolving needs of today's community. Together, they will support and inspire anyone in need of education, from teenagers who left traditional academics and also adults who want more out of their lives to do with education. A recent study shows that apparently 16% of Bermudians without a high school certificate are unemployed, while 30% of Black males aged 16 to 25 are at risk of poor literacy and life competence. Ms. Book said, "This is an opportunity for us to address the critical needs of so many people in our community. We are excited to connect with people, learn about their challenges, and help them solve problems and achieve success."
Adult education, what's that?
The Adult Education School, I believe they're a school that also helps to help people to study for their GEDs.
So it's like Dr. Nalitha Butterfield's care.
Very close, similar to that, yes.
On the same
So
line.
why not? You know what?
I think adult education was there before care. It's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I think in the press release it was 60 years they've been in operation. So I can double check that. But yeah, I think that's what they're making new changes and celebrating it.
Okay, I'll read up on it. What else you got for us, Maya?
Well, I know I haven't talked about coronavirus in quite a long time, but since March of 2020, this is just a record for everyone to remember. Since March of 2020, Bermuda has recorded 18,519 coronavirus cases, out of which we've had many recoveries, but sadly there have been 152 coronavirus-related deaths on the island. Now, Minister Wilson stated yesterday, November 30th, that all mask mandates and border controls related to COVID-19 will end. She says, "We have had an extraordinarily 32 months of navigating through the pandemic. We have seen our share of losses, and we have also seen tremendous courage. We cannot help but reflect on the resilience and dedication of those who have helped keep us safe during the throes of the pandemic."
Yeah, it's definitely one of those periods in Bermuda we will never forget. What else you got for us?
On upcoming events today, Medical House has a trade show at Leopards Club from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with special guests, and refreshments will also be served. As well today, Orange Bay is hosting their holiday bash and trunk show from 5:30 to 7. And just a little plug, I will be there to host the event, and it'll be 30% off the whole entire store wide. And Saturday coming up, December 3rd, is the Mr. and Miss CBA competition, a night to showcase the excellence of CBA's students.
All right, CBA. You went to see the bridge, man?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right, do your thing, player. Do your thing. What else you got for us?
Next up, I just have the weather for you guys. So it's going to be a bright day. Clouds to increase late afternoon. Showers are kind of likely. So, be wary of that, especially if you're on your bike today. And we have a high of 74 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right, cool. Before, Stanchi, you do what day of the year it is, I just want to go to the audience. NTS says there are 2 MPs in attendance and they still can't get a response from the premier or the other MPs. Yep, Caller J says that part. Resam says, I respect Minister Furbert more than any other current minister, and I hope that she did not commit political suicide. Oh, I know, because most people think that a certain premier is very vindictive. And what I will say is, I just think Minister Tanae Furbert's, the respect people have for her just went up a lot. It really did. Renee Simmons says, the MPs have to represent their constituents, but what are they communicating amongst their political party? Yeah, I have nothing but love and respect for Minister Tanae Furbert. I think she is very genuine. She comes across respectful and like she cares. I just feel she's in a tough spot, and I think you need to choose your team, which I think she's done, her constituents. But then what is being said to the others? As I said, sometimes it's not in the best interest of your pocket, but it's in the best interest of your conscience and the people of Bermuda. Sancha, what you got for days of the year?
Today is National Eat a Red Apple Day.
Oh.
When one thinks of an apple, it isn't the vibrant green color of the Granny Smith apple that jumps to mind, nor is it the mottled red and yellow stripes of the Fiji apple. No, indeed. The apple that comes to mind is the red delicious apple. The red delicious apple is so ingrained in our minds as to what an apple looks like that if you ask a child to draw an apple without question, it's going to be the red crayon for their apple. So that's why Eat a Red Apple Day exists, to celebrate this iconic member to the apple family and its history. What do you think, Mel?
No, I actually went and got some red apples this week. I didn't know it was Red Apple Day. Yeah. Well, Maya, we'll see you. You have a good day, lady in red. And stay well.
You guys too. Best believe I'm not wearing this all day.
All right, later. All right, folks. Do not go anywhere. We will. Don't worry. We're a bit behind time, but hopefully Ms. Ellen K. Horton will stick with us until we've got it all out this morning, because we're about to enter a conversation that you want to be a part of. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. She's Sandra Durham. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget, you can just hit the join button beneath the video on YouTube to become an official member of our channel. We'll be doing some cool things you don't want to miss. But without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the morning. We're talking about the West End primary situation. If you've been under a rock, what's been happening is there's a group that is trying to save West End. The government they're trying to move towards parish primary schools. I know this audience has had strong opinions about it, obviously in favor of those fighting to save West End, and I am happy that Ms. Ellen Kate Horton is here to discuss this situation with us. So let's give her a warm TDH welcome. Welcome. They got out of control sometimes. Don't worry about that. They got out of control. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Love the applause.
No problem. No problem. Well, we've got Sancha here who was very passionate about this when we had first talked about it. And for some reason, I was like, I don't think I want to come on and talk about this. Then I got the opportunity to ask you, and you were very interested. And I've been very vocal on this show with my situation, as I shared earlier, as it relates to my personal feelings. But what I try to do is get people to think beyond their personal feelings, and whether something may directly affect them or not. We didn't have to live during the transatlantic slave trade, right? We didn't have to live during those times to know that it was morally wrong, right? So we shouldn't have to live or experience things to support or not support things. So thank you for you and everyone up there, and which I think Sancha's going to talk about later, the town hall, which really was another eye opener that no, it's not just these folks, it's a lot of folks that have this. But before we get into the conversation, just explain to people, from your perspective personally, what West End Primary means to you.
Before, to break the ice, I have to show you my t-shirt.
There we go. Save West End.
Save West End. Somerset and Christmas.
Oh,
so
yes.
Carpenter Christmas. We're ready.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a proud graduate of West End Primary School. Well, after all, there was no other primary school for me. There was no other school in Somerset that I could even set foot on, literally. And I and all the people who look like me. One of the other issues is that, during our day, many of the Portuguese children were in West End because they had not been declared white yet. And some of our Portuguese families, the younger person might have gone to Somerset Primary, but the older ones had to go to West End. So many of my mom's friends even were Portuguese who went to school with her at West End. They didn't have a choice. So West End has meant, we walked down Cook's Hill amidst all of our neighbors and headed to school. It was a fun time. We had wonderful teachers, all from Somerset. Those were the days when the teachers were from the community. They were our parents. And my entire family went through West End School. From parents, and of course my father, back in those days, there was no school leaving age. They didn't even have to attend school. That wasn't written in the law books yet. But at 13, he had to leave school, as did many, many people. High school was out of the question for many of our men back then.
So it's the only school that so many attended. So I get why it's so deeply personal. Yeah.
And if you look at Somerset, vast majority Black. And so West End has the legacy. Somerset Primary can't begin to match. White people had a choice. There were far fewer white folk in Somerset than Blacks, and they had a choice. So some of them went down to Salters. Some went to BHS. Some went to Warwick Academy. Some went to, not Somerset Primary, Sands Grammar School. But I do know that we as Black folk, and I've suffered this, could not set foot on that property. Yeah. And today, I look at the fact that we talk about legacy, we still have a situation at that school. Now the name is Somerset Primary, and that would have happened because they brought over the children from Bose Island School when they closed.
Just for the sake of time, just explain to us, because I want to jump into it. Explain to the audience who West End Warriors are, who's the Warriors, and what the specific fight at this time is.
Sure. When December 2020, I think, when the announcement came out that West End was going to be cut, red flags went up all over Somerset. And I thought, oh, no, over my dead body. And it might be that too. But we ended up, there was a letter to the editor, I think, or a report from Cecily Snaith-Simmons, who is a West End graduate who talked about it. I was contacted by the news because they knew I was an educator and asked my opinion. And of course, I thought it was outrageous. As a result, you would know that I ran into a little difficulty with the party I choose to be a part of and have been a part of since before many of the young people who are in it today were born, and ran into difficulty there. As a result, we started to come together. We ended up on these consultation meetings and saw our trend. There were a lot of Somerset people on those meetings. They defended, the government did nothing but defend the position they had taken. They weren't active listeners. They were not active listeners. They had made a decision, even though they said they hadn't. It was clear from the conversation that the decision had been made. So we started having meetings and we have grown. So we are many of the people from the Somerset community who went to West End, whose families from way back when went to West End. And, so we have grown and we continue to grow, I might add.
So a lot of my family have been to West End.
I'm well aware. I know your family.
Somerset girl through and through. And you had spoke a lot about it before, but just want to kind of zone in. Why is it important for West End to remain a parish school within the western end of the island? And can you reflect on some of the school's history that makes it special? I know for me, understanding or knowing that my mom was there during a part of it was segregated during that time.
Exactly.
And, I mean, my mom's not that old. So this is not many years ago, right?
That's right.
So what can you reflect on some of the points that, makes it this school special to the community?
Of course. Well, as I said before, we are at that point a majority Black community in Somerset. So all of us became family at West End School. All of us were cared for at West End School. Not only that, West End School, despite the fact that the government talks about making the school the hub of the community, it already is. West End School, Somerset Cricket Club. Somerset Cricket Club got its beginnings at part of it at West End School. The football section started at West End School. West End School was built where it is now in 1944. Somerset Cricket Club came online where it is, I believe, in 48. So the cricket was held down at Warren Simmons Field, former Naval Field, and the football at West End School. Mm-hmm. And even after Somerset opened its club, we couldn't play football on that. They were the hallowed grounds for cricket only. So, the community has been involved with West End, and I'm talking the entire community. Every neighbor was my mama. Mm-hmm. It was family, it was community, and it was the only place we could go. We were called names at the other school. As a matter of fact, I had to go to a cooking class on the outskirts of the school, and that's where the preschool is today. Mm-hmm. We had to walk around the field. And as we're walking around the field, we had to listen to the nasty comments of the children there. So yes, we feel that we can't go back. I mean, this is everywhere else in the world. We're talking about reparations. Here's a good reason for the government to think about reparations.
So with that being said, the government's one of the answers to this is a history and legacy committee that they have formed to preserve West End's history and legacy. What's your thoughts on this committee?
We really don't care to have the history written. Imagine trying to write the history of Somerset Primary. We did not allow those folk on these grounds until 5 decades ago. You know, we were not allowed on the grounds. We believe that West End should remain. When you think about West End was built by us for us. You know, we didn't have a school. It was only in 1915 when the government came into play, despite the fact that West End started back in 1869. So in 1915, the government started to assist with West End. And, you know, the minister talked about us being in 4 locations. Well, yeah, that's since the government took over. But yes, we were poor Black folk. Poor Black folk. We didn't own homes.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't own property. All the property had been wrapped up. We know the story of Tuckerstown. Tuckerstown happened all over Bermuda. So vast majority of the land up this way belonged to, and ironically, some of the people we still celebrate at Somerset Primary School. You know, we think of the houses at that school today. The houses are Finley, Patterson, and Gilbert. Mm-hmm. These guys are direct descendants of the slave owners. Mm-hmm. And I do believe one of them was a banker, and probably one of the reasons many of our Black businesses closed back in the day, because we couldn't get loans. So, you know, we have had, there's just so much that has gone on. Say that.
I have heard one of the stories. So I live very close to Tin Top. So that was one of the original locations for West End School. And I have heard one of the stories where Somerset Primary was given loans from the bank, and West End had to actually come from the community, and it was donations with and the Black families coming together to actually fix up the school when loans weren't being given, but they were given to the white school, which was Somerset Primary. So when Minister Rebane makes a statement that says Somerset, you know, West End has been located in 3 different locations, and Somerset Primary can now just be another one in history and can be named West End, what do you say to that?
What a massive insult. What a massive insult. And it goes to show you that people are out of touch. People in position, but they are out of touch. You know, but then, you know, they didn't attend our schools. They probably don't understand. Mm-hmm. But maybe there are times when we should listen to those of us who are older and perhaps a little wiser. Mm-hmm. You know, the fact that West End is where it is. I mean, we were at 5 Points House, which is right off Warren Simmons Field, the home of Cup Match. We were at Flat Top. Flat Top is right on the corner of Samuel Road and the tracks. Mm-hmm. It's now part of it is Sands Middle. Mm-hmm. Then we were at Tin Top, the one you're talking about, a galvanized building.
Yeah.
And finally in 44, we ended up at West End. So once we got to the present West End on 43 Scotts Hill Road, when we ended up there, we had come from Flat Top, but the little people were able to come back to Flat Top while the seniors were at the new West End before the rest of the building was put there. But we grew to 379 over at Flat Top, so we had to use Tin Top. Get back to West End, we built those, you know, the breezeway, that froze our poor little children out. So that's not the part we built. The part that we built, when I say we, the men of Somerset, and most of the contractors were Somerset people, and they built West End. So now to throw all that history away, you know, we fought our way through slavery.
Yeah.
We fought all our lives, and to have people who supposedly represent us not even listen to us, it borders on criminality, if you ask me.
Yeah. So I saw West End Warriors. They attended the town hall meeting that was held at Workman's recently. And at that meeting, Premier Burt stated that if the education minister was to reconsider, it would mean scrapping the last 4 years of that work that has gone into this. Now, firstly, what is your response to that statement? And secondly, with all of that being said, what is the goal for West End Warriors moving forward?
My response to that statement, I thought, I know I didn't just hear that. Let me make a point that during the first release of the decisions that were made, Elliott School was not chosen. Elliott School is now one of the schools chosen. So that decision was changed. So, and I want to add that Elliott scored less than Devonshire, than the other Devonshire school, Prospect Primary, in the evaluations they did. So the fact that West End might have scored a little less than Somerset Primary, 5% less, holds no water, because they've already done that. They chose a second school for Elliott. Elliott was second place in the community. The other issue, even with their evaluation, I look at the paperwork. They have Somerset Primary as being built in 1960. 1960, I was very much in the middle of the Berkeley Institute. Somerset Primary was there when I was a child, when many people much older than I were children. So erroneous information in their studies, we pointed it out. They haven't, they don't see the issue. But as far as that being a problem, I don't see where that's a problem. And if it is, fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Class is in session. I've learned legit a lot this morning from this conversation. I didn't know, this football field and cricket field stuff. I didn't know. I did know that Somerset Cricket Club, the field actually came into existence in the late 40s, but I didn't know the part where they played at West End and kept it as a cricket ground at first. So this is interesting information for me. I just want to go to the comments real quickly. Renee Simmons says, I truly believe the school name carries the history of the school, e.g. Berkeley. They moved, however, when the location they are moving to has a racist historical past, then I understand the reluctance. And I think, it's been said on this show, so I'm just repeating what our audience has said. Do you feel that the lack of connection by a David Burt and Deella Rabane to a West End plays a role in it?
I absolutely do. Let me applaud the two MPs who were on, one a minister, I might add, Tene and Lovita. That is real representation. Somerset, the very first parish to have 4 MPs. 4 MPs. One is the speaker, but the speaker, we talk to the speaker, he's my MP. He supports us. He cannot support us openly because of his position. He supports us. Jamal Simmons, a West End student, certainly supports us. The other 2 are ministers. I've heard nothing from them about West End. West End is in the constituency of one of them. No word. And in the other constituency, now we have problems with our seniors facility over there in Bose Island. No word. Come on, we cannot continually suffer these attacks. And, if need be, we bring the seniors on board at the same time, because we cannot have Leafroy clothes. We cannot have West End clothes. We have to fix these issues.
Maybe I'm too much of a team player, or not, or I'm just not built for politics, because as you rightfully said just now, people, if it was just Levita Fogo there yesterday, people would say, oh, she's just speaking because she doesn't have a ministry, right? She's not a cabinet position. But the fact that Minister Tanae Furbert was there as well actually really makes a lot of sense and is helpful, because the way this premier operates, she took a risk. And I did send her an email during the commercial break thanking her for her stance. I just put that out there. But I say that because the two ministers, I'll name them, Kim Wilson, who to me made a comment some years ago where she's not going to go against the government. She's not. I don't think it's about right and wrong with her. This is me personally speaking. I think it's about what her government does. That's the most dangerous person to deal with. That's one of the most dangerous mindsets to deal with. A person that they may know better, but they're going to stick with it. The other minister is the AG, I believe, Kathy Simmons, which I believe she is 36. Folks, honestly, this is on us, like people, constituents. This is not, when these folks are not representing you, I mean, the people yesterday down St. David's, that's what people need in Somerset.
Jamal,
this is the first time, let me just say, this is the first time we have had well, I don't know if we call it representation, but this is the first time we have had MPs who are not from Somerset. The only other MP who was not from Somerset was Lionel Simmons, who married a Somerset woman and became Somerset. His life has been in Somerset ever since, and he represented us. But, we have been out there on our own, not a word from the MPs, not a word.
Wow.
I want to point out something to you quickly, Jamal. So on Saturday mornings, there's a series that goes on with Kim Wilson, the MP, and it's called Tea with the Minister. You can stop by and tell them any of your concerns. And I want you to take a guess where this takes place.
West End?
Not Somerset Primary.
Exactly.
Wow.
If Somerset Primary was such a location that draws people, you would sit outside of Somerset Primary and have people coming by to talk to you. You sit outside of West End because you know that is the hub of Somerset, and you know that people come past there every day. Maddox is 6 years old and he's still training on West End field for football.
That's right.
So if you're standing there for the community to come and talk to you and have tea with Kim, that speaks volumes.
Well, wow, that's interesting. I want to say, so I stand corrected, I guess, and you mentioned it. So Prospect, my former school, is not on the chopping block. According to BDA Speaks, I read the report too, and Prospect is to be retained for a school for exceptionality. So I didn't know that. So thank you for updating me on that. Also, welcome Patricia Painter as a latest member, and thank you for your $1 contribution. We appreciate any contributions you all give.
Patricia Painter is a West End warrior.
We appreciate you, Miss Madam West End Warrior. I just want to say this because it's been said. I know we're going over time, but to me, this conversation is as important as any. What do you make of comments by sitting MPs? And I've heard it from quite a few of the younger MPs new into the political space who have basically said things like, well, my school's been impacted as well. I'm not complaining because it's about the bigger picture. It's about, this or that. Like, how can we make sense of their comments as they are entering this space and maybe are so raw that they're not into standing up for the cause or what is maybe right, rather what's politically expedient?
I think most things are politically expedient today, and that's very unfortunate, very unfortunate. But the newer MPs were handpicked, many of them handpicked, and this is the role they take. They know that they have to follow the line, follow the stage. And they're not going to go against it. Now, as for saying my school, I mean, I've read a couple of those comments and I thought, what is the legacy of your school? What is the history? Let me mention that West End School is one of the oldest schools in the Western Hemisphere. I'll repeat, the entire English-speaking Western Hemisphere that has continually taught primary school from its inception. And what better legacy in the entire, so we really might have a place in the world, not just in this little island of ours. And for us to dig our heels in and say, I don't care what you say, this is what we're doing. You know, we made a change with Elliott School. And I will reiterate, Elliott was second of the two schools in Devonshire, but they chose Elliott because someone decided. And I mean, I do understand that the minister went to Elliott as for primary school. You know, these things that make you say,
I thought his, and again, not being personal, but I thought his daughter went there as well recently. So just saying, I mean, folks, we can't ignore the obvious when things are right in front of our face, right? I believe Maya Plus is, she's asking, what are the names of the other two ministers? Kim Wilson and Kathy Simmons, I believe that's what she's asking. Yeah, as I mentioned. Before you go, because I think sometimes in Bermuda, we tend to turn a blind eye when, as I stated earlier, we think this fight's not us. So that's this, like people in St. George's may say, oh, that's those folks up Somerset. People up Somerset might think the thing down St. David's, I say, oh, that's those folks down St. David's. I actually think they're connected. But what would you say to people who have that attitude where that's not my problem, not my fight?
I would hope they would look at the whole picture. You know, as an educator, I went into a classroom and they were all my children. And, you know, I started as a qualified teacher. I taught once I got out of high school, and you're able to join teachers in classrooms. So I was in several elementary schools. But my first big job, all by myself, was at Warwick Secondary School. And though I'm a Berkeleyite, I absolutely loved Warwick Secondary, loved my students, had some rough ones, but, and so you had to be rough too. So we had a wonderful time. I still enjoy a beautiful relationship with my students from Warwick Secondary. That's another problem, you know, that school's gone. And that's a school we owned. It's just very sad, and it's going under this government. And I do believe without whatever problems they had there could have been fixed. We let that school that we owned go, and we kept Whitney. We don't own Whitney, you know. And there's also a question of ownership of Somerset Primary. There is a trust at Somerset Primary. Today, there's a trust at Somerset Primary. Board of Trustees, I really have not seen evidence. The minister has mentioned that they own it, as government owns it. I want to see evidence. I want to see evidence. We have written petty requests. The ministry has, it was incredible what the ministry sent back as responses. As a permanent secretary, as a former permanent secretary of education and other places, I was embarrassed to see the answers. So now we've had to go to petty proper, and we're waiting. So our struggle is not over. We continue with it. And as you saw, and I think it came as a real shock at Warwick, they had no idea who all those people were. The government really thought, I think, oh, we've drawn a lot of people out today. No, we had drawn a lot of people out. You know, we made sure that we were represented, because to this point, we have not had a meeting in Sands Parish, other than that one that we called. And one of the MPs wanted to know why she was invited. Am I invited as myself? Am I invited as, come on. You're invited because you're the MP of the parish. And we expect our MPs to represent us. So we have had support from members of parliament, openly support other than Jamal. And, you know, I'm thankful for them, but our fight will continue. We have done many things throughout the community, too many to mention right now. But remember, all this was done during COVID.
Yeah.
So when you have meetings during COVID, you can't get the real feel of the people. Yeah. You know, you cannot get the real feel of the people. And when you're on YouTube or whatever we're on, what was it, Zoom meetings, you can get cut off. People are saying things and next thing you're saying nothing. So we did not have the right representation. And
I just want to go back to trust because I want people to understand what that actually means if you don't. So let's use the school system when it changed in the late 90s in terms of going to the middle school and senior school. If you remember, Warwick Academy was a public school. Well, they had trustees and Warwick Academy didn't want to go along with government, so they went private. Right. So that's what Ms. Horton is referring to as far as Whitney having trustees. I believe St. George's Prep has trustees. Yes. I believe you said Somerset Primary may, Port Royal maybe. So schools with trustees, but the government really has no say. I think that's a lot of people don't know this, but that's how it happens. And so it's of interest because if Somerset Primary does have trustees and the government thinks they're all in on that school, then well, there's no Sands, there's no primary school in Sands if things don't, you know, go in their favor. But Ms. Horton, it's been a pleasure, and I just want to, what any last words for the people?
Yes, can I just leave you with one thing that hit me as I'm looking and thinking about where we've gone in education, and one of our pet peeves is that of our Black men, and I wonder how far, you know, because for this decision, people were brought in from all over the place. Not us, you know, we're not experts in our own land, but, you know, Australia, New Zealand, England, they're the experts. They were brought in to talk about what education should look like for us. I just want to say that we didn't need to go as far afield to help our young Black men, and I still think we need to look at this. There is a school called Urban Prep in Chicago, inner city Chicago children. So children from Black boys, from gang-ridden neighborhoods, from neighborhoods where people are murdered at a horrible rate. 3 campuses in Chicago serving Black men. 100% of them go to university out of that high school. 100%. Been going on for years. That's the kind of thing we need to look at as examples, because it doesn't matter how beautiful you make a building. It's what goes on inside that building. So, you know, what is important is teaching and learning and parents and the connection. And, you know, when you see your children start to move, then you've got to move with them. So, you know, that's a school that I think that we could have looked at. There are probably others. That's just one I know of. And it's just, but, you know, some of us don't have the opportunity to discuss this in other forums.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And again, you know, we can focus on the exterior all we want, but it's really what's going on in the inside. And I think it's been said for years, like, let's focus as much on the curriculum and the students and the outcomes as much as we do the buildings and the fancy stuff. So, Ms. Horton, thank you so much for making time for us. It's been too long. I mean, you first came on when we first started the show. It's been almost 2 years, and we definitely don't want to make you a stranger. We value your contribution, and please keep us abreast of any changes in this situation, any updates, where we can bring you guys back to discuss.
Thank you so much for having me, and certainly West End Warriors will continue. More to come.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right, folks, if you appreciated that conversation with Miss Ellen Kate Horton, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, share these kind of conversations. Like I said, Sancha, don't think this doesn't impact you if you're in St. George's, St. David's, Pembroke, whatever. Like this, I've said it for years. If they can get away, if the government can do something to one group of people, don't think they won't try with another. That's the facts. We're going to take a quick break, come back, Daily Play, and give our final thoughts on today's show as well. Stick with us.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
Wow, what a way to begin the final month of 2022. Thanks again to Miss Ellen Kate Horton. Again, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, don't just give us a thumbs up today. Share it in your WhatsApp groups. I want to see you share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it any place you need to share it. That conversation was the way we want to end the year. We want to take some energy into 2023 that no, we're not going to take it. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy, Lindos, and Medical House for ensuring that we can have those conversations. We love you too, Miss Horton, V. Denise Hollis, NTS, So Wise, on Ellen Kate, a true Bermudian gem. Karen Simmons, thank you to my former colleague and permanent secretary, Ellen Kate. And Rosalind Famous says, thank you for that conversation. BDA Speaks says, I'm from Somerset. No, some of what was said was opinion and not fact. Glad I was able to tune in and appreciate your contribution as well. Folks, it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Sancha, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, she's ready, folks. Here we go. Here is the question for today. I think this is easy. Something tells me her son Maddox would get it, but help her out. What are the names of the 3 characters that sing the Chipmunk song?
Alvin.
Yes.
Oh gosh, what are the Chipmunks' names? Alvin. Going out of my head. This is easy. I can't remember the other 2. What are the names?
No one knows the answer. The name of the 3 chipmunks, obviously, Alvin is the most popular because I think he was the troublemaker. Theodore.
Theodore, yes.
And Simon.
I didn't know Simon. I knew Theodore and I knew Alvin. Didn't know Simon.
Rosalind Famous says, and Alvin's brothers. Well, yeah, she's right. Yeah, Alvin, Theodore, and Simon. Those are the names. Final thoughts. Let's wrap it up real quickly. Final thoughts on today's show. Obviously, the 4-day work week, 32-hour work week, and then the conversation with Ms. Ellen Kate Horton.
I think 4-day work week, 32-hour work week. I think that it can work where it can work. You know, I think if we're talking about corporate, I think it makes sense. If we're talking about, you know, customer service based businesses, it's a little more difficult and it kind of puts us under a lot more pressure. So where it makes sense, I say yes, but it has to make sense. I took so much away from our news break and our conversation today, and there was a common message that went on. In our news break, there was a sign that was being held up at the press conference, and it was like, listen to the people. And that is resonating with me today because there's a lack of connection between the government and the people, and I'm seeing it through many situations just across the board. As I said, my son Maddox, he he still trains at West End. He's at Sumter Cricket Club. He's at West End. When he wants to go and play football or wants to go to the playground, he says he wants to go to West End. It's never an idea of take me to Somerset Primary. And I'm very happy that we have knowledgeable people to fight for this cause. And I don't, as you said, I don't think it's just a cause, this one cause. Yes, it's in Somerset, but I think it speaks volumes for our island, and we're not being heard.
Yeah. I'll say on the 4-day work week, 32 hour, I actually second what you said. I think that it really comes down to industry. I think it would be tough. It's just like the whole living minimum wage. I'm not a fan of either. I think the market should decide. In free market in that respect, and labor should drive what pay is. I think putting it across, just broad, I don't think makes sense. So that said, I think for certain industries it may make sense. I think we need to look at what makes sense without harming smaller businesses. But I'm in favor of whatever's going to be in the best interest of the people first. I'll say that even as an entrepreneur. As far as the Ellen Kate Horton and the situation with West End, look, I understand people and history. I understand sides, and I appreciate anyone who's willing to fight for their cause, as long as that cause is not causing harm to any other individual, physically, emotionally, or mentally. I am following this closely to see how it turns out, and I guess one thing I will say is props to them for fighting for what they believe in, and I hope it works out for them. Hopefully, the government does what is best or what they believe is best for Bermuda and that community, and not what's in the best interest of themselves. And if they believe in their heart of hearts that it's in the best interest to focus on Somerset Primary, I hope that it's really and truly about what's in the best interest of the students who attend the institution and not something personal. And the same on the West End side. So that said, Sanchi, you got any daily inspiration for us?
I do, Jamal. As I pull it up.
Okay.
The only reason a warrior is alive is to fight, and the only reason a warrior fights is to win.
West End Warriors are going for the win for sure, right?
There we go.
All right. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this for you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you. We love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sancha Durham. I'm Jamal Hart. My friends, please make it a safe and a great day. We are, hold on, I've got my nog. I finished it before the show, so that's why you didn't see me sipping. Check it tomorrow. Peace.